The things we endure make us what we are. But a ghost chooses who they will become. And you will know my name.
With Ghost of Yotei releasing October 2nd, I wanted to provide for you a breakdown of what you can expect for the game, as well as provide some historical context to kind of give you some more background about the Edo period and the Hokkaido setting that we're in. So, without further ado, let's dive right in.
The end of the world is this. Only in our minds.
In Ghost of Yotei, we'll be getting to play as Atsu. Now, Atsu is a mercenary with a vengeful quest on her hands. At the age of 12, she was the sole survivor of an attack on her family home led by Lord Saito and the Yotei Six. So in this game, we'll be hunting down the Yotei Six all across the northern region of Japan, known at the time as Etso, or today as modern-day Hokkaido. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that picked up on the inspirations in Ghost of Yotei from the likes of Kill Bill as well as Blue-Eyed Samurai. Now, if you haven't seen either one, I mean, you're lost because both are really great forms of media. But I am a big fan of especially Blue-Eyed Samurai, and it is, again, a really well-made vengeance story set in Japan with a female lead. And I could see all the comparisons between the protagonist of that series and Atsu in Ghost of Yotei. And I'm very interested to see what are the narrative differences between both stories, as well as the differences in character personas, and see how it all comes into play in Ghost of Yotei. Ghost of Yotei will take place in 1603, and that's going to be about 300 years following the ending of Ghost of Tsushima. Now, it's also very important that this game's happening in Hokkaido, way in the north of Japan, and the reason for that is because it's just out of the reach of the newly founded Tokugawa shogunate's control. Now, this region is also home to the Ainu people, which will be making an appearance in the game, and I will be covering very soon as well. But this turbulent region was still a little bit lawless at the time, and is the perfect setting for Ghost of Yotei. So on our hunt, we'll embody the Onryo, which is a Japanese spirit of vengeance. So as the spirit of vengeance, Atsu will carry with her an Onryo list. Now this list will have all the names of the Yotei Six, and she'll be crossing them off one by one as she goes along her journey, getting her revenge. However, Atsu will not be alone on her quest for vengeance. That's right, much like how Jin Sakai was aided by allies on his journey, Atsu will be as well, and these will be known as the Wolf Pack. Now, we'll be able to track insights and key information about the Wolf Pack via a hub menu, which is quite great to see. And then also going to be getting an actual wolf to aid us on our quest. I know. Now, the wolf is kind of his own master, but he will help you from time to time, guiding you along your quest and even helping you fight when you really need it. So, really excited to see how this mechanic plays out. So, who exactly are the Yotei Six? Well, luckily enough, we have a clip to go take a look at, so let's do that.
Who are you? I thought we killed your whole family.
The snake. The Oni. The Kitsune. The spider. The dragon. Lord Saito.
So the six are looking super imposing, and I can't wait to actually face them in game. But I want to take a moment to really, analyze our main antagonist that is going to be Lord Saito and compare him to Koten-kun, who is the antagonist of the first game, and see kind of how the personalities stack up. So let's do a quick side-by-side clip.
You are a warrior. I can see that. You trained your whole life for this. And you have won battles that lesser men have called unwinnable, yes? But while you were sharpening your sword, do you know how I prepared for today? I learned. I know your language, your traditions, your beliefs, which villages to tame and which to burn. So I'll ask you once again, Samurai. Do you surrender? What are we going to do with this one, Saito?
I'm sorry it came to this, little wolf. How did you escape?
Same way. I survived every battle. The thought of killing you.
So as you can see, both men will resort to violence when they have to and can be very cold in that approach. Koten-kun quickly cuts down the hero and strongest fighter on the island of Tsushima, and then we see with Lord Saito no hesitation when he has to go stab young Atsu. But where I think that they differ in kind of their approaches is that Koten-kun is a cold and calculating person. He prepared for months for war before actually entering to make sure that no force could take on his army and that he would dominate anything in his way. Whereas Lord Saito at first almost seems remorseful to be doing what he's doing, and it's kind of alluding to also that he might have a personal connection with at least Atsu or Atsu's family before, kind of killing them. But then later on, we see this paradigm kind of shift a little bit with Lord Saito, in that at the end of the clip, we see that he's almost, again, antagonistic and laughing at Atsu when she's coming for her revenge. So as I mentioned before, it's going to be some hard shoes to follow from an antagonist type of perspective, but I think that I'm going to put my faith in Lord Saito delivering on what we really need from an antagonist. But something else that's super interesting about Ghost of Yotei is that it has a different take on the narrative, and that it's going to be a non-linear type of story that's going to unfold for us. Now, what does that really mean? Well, that means that we're going to be able to take on any of the Yotei Six as we please, and I think that even includes Lord Saito out of order. So I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out for the main game and how that's going to affect the rest of the story when we kill one before another. But enough about all that, let's get into some more fun things, and that's going to be the weapons and the gameplay that Atsu has at her disposal.
Ezo is a dangerous place. Atsu always wields a weapon. As for which, that's up to you. Will you choose a katana, spear, a surigama, odachi, or dual swords? Each is uniquely effective against a particular enemy and has their own set of upgrades to discover and master. Blades are great, but ranged weapons work too, and Atsu's got an arsenal.
I gotta say, I'm the most excited to be dual-wielding swords, because I've always wanted to do that in Ghost of Tsushima, so I'm super excited that it's happening for Ghost of Yotei. But also excited to see that there's going to be a return of all different sorts of ninja tools at our disposal, like smoke and different powders, so very excited to use that on the battlefield as well. So what's my overall take on the gameplay so far? So it is definitely looking more polished than the first game, although I had a ton of fun in the first game and it was a great experience. We see the return of really fluid moveset, but now with the inclusion of more weaponry, we're going to have a lot more variety to take on our enemies, and I'm very excited for that. And as you can see here, it looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to be doing tons of different switching for the right weapon at the right time. And I don't know, friends, this is going to be, a very interesting experience, and I'm all here for it. So next up, let's cover all the fun features that are coming into Ghost of Yotei, as well as, of course, having to mention the return of Kurosawa mode. Now, Kurosawa mode is an all black and white mode and was a lot of fun to play around with in the first game, so I'm glad that it's making a return. But let's show you the new features now, as well as give you a bit of my reaction to each.
As you explore, there's an underlying clue system that invites you to new adventures and new areas of the game that could be appealing to you. If you interrogate an enemy, choosing to ask about the Oni, you could uncover a landscape scarred by fire with more bold, samurai-like enemies to fight and abilities for Atsu to learn. Or if you ask about the Kitsune, it might lead you to an area filled with snow and deception, enemies that ambush you, and new ninja-like tactics to study.
So I love this. I think that it's a brilliant way to reward players for not only exploring the game, but taking on random fights, because you'd always have, roaming bands of warriors trying to fight you in Ghost of Tsushima, but now this gives you an extra incentive to take them on because you will be getting key information about the people that you need to hunt down, and I love that.
Atsu draws cards for each clue to keep track of all available adventures. The more you play, the more the game unfolds for you. As she makes progress against the Yotei Six, her legend as the on-rail grows.
It's her.
Bounty will go up, drawing the attention of deadlier foes.
Are you lost?
I'm looking for some old friends. The Yotei Six.
Show her the door.
There is a hefty price on Atsu's head. Now, Atsu can also hunt down her own bounties that bring her all around the land. This is a lucrative way to make some money to fuel her vengeance quest.
So again, I think that the clue system is going to be super beneficial for us because this is, again, a non-linear story. So this is going to really help us, track those key details that we need to, take account of. But I also really love the bounty system. So not only will we be actively hunted, but we can take on our own bounties, making a whole new level to the overall narrative of the game. And that's very amazing and definitely adds to the longevity of the play for me.
Hidden in the world are altars of reflection. Finding one inspires Atsu and unlocks a new ability to help her on the journey ahead. They are fun to find on their own, but for a quicker route, you can always buy a traveler's map from the cartographer. Ghost of Yotei isn't going to rush you through anything. You can choose what motivates you most. But we think the best way to play is to simply pull out your spyglass, find something interesting on the horizon, and enjoy the ride.
Let's ride.
So I'm glad to see that altars are making a return, and I'm definitely appreciating the new different additions to traversal, making it a little bit more fun to, navigate down mountains or even go up, but also get new information to kind of, expedite your travel if you really wanted to through those maps. So I think these are great quality of life features for the game and really excited to just kind of dive right in. But we're also going to have the return of some fun fan favorite features like the onsen, and if you did like the maps to find certain treasures as well. But I can't say I'm too excited about the return of the bamboo cut. I know some people love doing it. I myself thought it to be a bit of a chore. If you were really good at those inputs, you could get the first time. Otherwise, it was a pain in the ass to do. But that's coming back. But then also what looks to be a gambling system coming to the game. So interested to see how that works out. So alongside the standard edition of the game, there will be 2 other editions, but which is the right one for you? Well, the limited edition of the game is going to come with the customized console. So if you really want to have the customized console and controller, I'd say go for that. Otherwise, if you're good with your PS5 already, just stick with it. It will play fine on the game. But here's a look at what the collector's edition has inside. So I don't know about you, but I think I'm definitely sold on the collector's edition because I think it has a lot to offer. But before we get on to other things, I did want to mention one other feature that's returning to this game, and that is going to be the Legends mode. Now, if you don't know what Legends mode was, I feel bad for you because that was the immensely fun multiplayer that we had in Ghost of Tsushima. Now, Legends mode, as a quick recap, had several different versions to it, and that's going to be the mission type, the survival, the raids, but then also the rivals mode. And I'm hoping to see all that come back into the Legends mode for Ghost of Yotei, but it will be a little bit different. We're not going to be taking on Io this time. No, we're going to be hunting down Oni versions of the Yotei Six, as well as their army hordes. So it's going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait for when it finally drops in early next year, but we're keeping our eyes close to see what that mode has to fully offer. So if you stuck around for this long, well, first I have to thank you, but also I guess I'll reward you because I think you're in for the rest of it too, and give you some historical context of the Hokkaido region during the Edo period, as well as why it's the perfect setting for such a tumultuous story that's full of vengeance and seeking after revenge. So leading up to the relative era of peace known as the Edo period was the Sengoku Jidai. Now the Sengoku Jidai was the warring states period of Japan where civil wars and unrest was rampant across the country, with faction against faction, brother against brother, and clan against clan. During this period of time, and especially at the Battle of Sekigahara, was the pivotal point that the Tokugawa shogunate was able to strike a decisive victory and establish themselves as the shogunate and leader of the unified Japan front. But all those feelings of turmoil and unrest just didn't kind of subside. No, they kind of lingered on, and especially in the early period of the Edo years, we can definitely see that happen, taking place a lot more in the north of Hokkaido. So as I mentioned before, the area of Hokkaido was not yet fully under control of the Tokugawa shogunate, and that is for a couple reasons. The first being that it was geographically located pretty far from the center of power, which was centered in Edo, which is in central Japan, but also that it is a large landmass that is not fully connected to the main body of Japan as well. Within this body, we also found the indigenous people also known as the Ainu. Now, I'm really glad that we're going to get to see a depiction of the Ainu within Ghost of Yotei, and I'm interested to see kind of their plight unfold. Because if you don't know the story of the Ainu, is that this indigenous people were oppressed by the Tokugawa shogunate and, others before, having had several clan wars over the years and having their land slowly whittled away until they became more and more and more localized to one region. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out in Ghost of Yotei. So also during this period, we had the rise of the Ronin. Now, if you don't know who the Ronin were, Ronin are masterless samurai. Now, the masters either fell during the Sengoku Jidai period or, were dissolved of their power following the unification of Japan, and they had to relinquish their samurai retainer class. Now, Ronin, who are a bunch of warriors with nothing to do, are going to either get up into trouble being bandits or, becoming mercenaries for hire, or just trying to figure out what is their purpose in life as they roam unified Japan. And we'll be able to take on these Ronin or encounter them along our way within Ghost of Yotei, either taking up bounties to go fight some bandits or reckless Ronin, or, meeting them along the way to help push the narrative. But yes, many Ronin were disgruntled samurai that weren't used to now being without a master. And ironically, during this kind of peaceful time of Japan, you would see resentment build until it became full-on rebellion. And this would be years later after, obviously, the fact of the Ghost of Yotei story playing out. But I just think that it's an interesting period of time because it gives rise to two different uprisings. And that first one is going to be the Keion uprising of 1651, where there was an attempt against the Tokugawa shogunate to overthrow them by some of the Ronin who felt that their options were limited. And then also the very famous Akko incident, where 47 Ronin, in defiance to the government, actually took their own lives in open defiance of the Tokugawa's government and censorship across unified Japan. But one more rebellion that I want to cover actually directly affects the Ainu people. Now, in the Edo period, we saw a full-scale revolt of the Ainu up against the Tokugawa government, and that is due to unfair working conditions that they were subjected to. This was still an autonomous region at the time, or semi-autonomous, but after this rebellion that led to the execution of many of the Ainu leaders, it was fully then under the control of the Tokugawa shogunate, leaving the Ainu people to be once more relegated to smaller communities and under much more stricter regulation and control of the government themselves. But all this is suffice it to say that I find it incredibly ironic that an era marked by peace across Japan also had so much tension and turmoil that isn't always kind of talked about and tends to fly under the radar. So that's why Hokkaido is the perfect setting to tell this revenge story, and super excited to see how this all plays out come October 2nd, as I'm sure all of you are. Well, there you have it. That's everything that you need to know before you buy the game Ghost of Yotei. And I hope that you also appreciated the narrative breakdown as well as the historical context that gives you, a little bit more deeper value and insight into the game. And if you did, please be sure to like and subscribe as it definitely helps us out over here. Well, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.